You see, I was raised in a small village outside of Nanjing. It barely changed in the first 2 decades after I was born. Every day, I had to take an exhausting ride on a bumpy road to go to school. Our house was made of bricks and clay tiles. It was freezing cold in winter, and in summer, it was infested with flies and mosquitoes. My name, Yun Yun, meaning cloud, was given by my mother. She wanted me to fly far, far away from what seemed a hopeless village and never come back. My mother worked at a small state-owned factory that was running at a loss for years. Well, that was not a problem back then because they were all in red some 3 decades ago. So every New Year, she would hand in our living room the New Year's calendar, which was actually a collection of photos of our presidents, smiling, waving hands, or giving a speech. As a teenager, I just couldn't bear the kind of atmosphere these photos had brought to our home. I would always argue with my mother, why can't we have Leonardo DiCaprio for a change? At that time, the Titanic was the first and only Hollywood movie that I had ever seen. But my mother remained unmoved. She said, first of all, I've never heard of the woman. Second, do whatever you like in your bedroom, but don't mess with the living room. That was our life before the wave of reform sweeping state-owned enterprises came to our village. Then one day, like 6 million other state employees, my mother returned home with her office belongings and told us, this is it. Our family lost the only stable income, however tiny it was, and my dream to be the first in our village to attend university was shattered. I was so angry that I tore the calendar off the wall and yelled, this man takes away your job and you still hang up his photos? Why aren't you angry? Why don't you stand up and tell him this is wrong? My mother was very patient and she asked, are you happy with your life? I said I had hated every minute of it for 16 years since I was born. I just couldn't stand being so poor and so limited in what we could do. My mother said, I'm not happy either. But the man in the calendar says he will reform the country, and we will have better life. If we give him a chance, there is a 50% possibility that he will deliver. But if we don't, we will fail 100% and continue to be where we are today. So, would you like to give him a chance? I just couldn't understand why my mother had such a naive belief in the man in the calendar or any other man who appears in such calendars. She swallowed her pains, complaints, and doubts, believing that the man in the calendar would never lie to her. My mother would always say, poor is as poor does. It only occurred to me years later that it was very similar to a line in another Hollywood movie, Forrest Gump. She taught me to be brave and resilient. She and my father took any jobs they could find and worked hard. 2 years later, they were so proud to be able to send me, their only child, to college in Beijing, the heart of our nation. Today, like my mother had wished, I have had the chances to go places that she could never have imagined for herself. The village that I tried so hard to escape from has been transformed into a beautiful garden district of the bustling city of Nanjing. My parents now live in a new 3-bedroom apartment. The reform that was promised by the man in the calendar has brought everyone in the village a chance to lead better lives. Looking back on the days when I felt my mother was being incomprehensible, I came to understand, faced with adversity and highly uncertain future, she had only belief to sustain her. I saw more of this belief when I was a visiting scholar in Michigan of the United States in 2014. Wanting to know what the people of a superpower nation believed in and how such conviction was motivating their success, I attended Bible class at the Trinity Church every Sunday. I asked so many questions that they gave me a PhD degree in curiosity. But despite the light-hearted banter, I saw another form of belief. It was different from my mother's, and yet so similar to hers. Such is the power of belief. Whether it is in a man in the calendar or the man on the cross. It is the belief that challenges will make us stronger and better, and that even a tiny spark of hope will engender willpower sufficient to move mountains in our hearts. You see, I grew up in a China which started out with nothing but the strength of hope and conviction that we are stronger together. When I finished my fellowship in the US and returned to China, I joined the Communist Party. This is my life, and this is my China.